All right, our objective today we're going to learn about literal equations. These are equations that you typically are like formulas and we're solving for a variable that they give us. So when you see the word for or solve for and they give us a letter, that means that's the variable that we're looking for. Our objective for this is our learning objectives, I'm sorry, I'm blanked out. Our learning objectives, I can simplify and solve formulas and other literal equations for a desired variable. All right, so here we go. So like I said just a few minutes ago, whenever they say for w, this is our variable w. So that's what we're going to solve for. That's our variable. So remember we asked ourselves in the few other videos, we asked what's our variable? Well, our variable here is going to be w. All right, so I'm not going to write all the three questions that we did. I figure you kind of got it by now, so we're going to do this. So what's my variable? My variable is w. It's right there, and what's being done to the variable? It's being multiplied to L. All right, so what's the opposite of multiply by L? All right, so the opposite is divide both sides. Remember that line means divide by L. All right, and so what we're going to do is L divided by L is 1, and 1 times W is W. So that's the only thing we have on that side. What's left over here is A divided by L. Now, since we have no numbers, we can't solve for anything. We can't really divide L into A. So this is our answer. We're done. So and what this means is, if you know, I just thought about this. This is the area formula for a rectangle, and its area is length times width. So if we use this, if they give us the area and they give us a length and we're trying to find the width. So let's say, and I'm just telling you, let's just say that we have a rectangle. We know the area is 30. We know that, let's say the length is 3. We want to know what the width is. Well, by doing this, we can just say 3 goes into 30 10 times, so my width would be 10. That's how this works. All right, here's example 2. This is the volume formula for rectangle prism. Sorry, it's not a rectangle prism. This is the volume formula for a excuse me, a rectangle prism. And so we're asked to find my variable is going to be h. There it is right there. All right, so here's my volume formula, length times width times h, or height. And so what's being done to h? Well, it's being multiplied by L and W. So what's the opposite of multiply by L and W? Divide both sides by L and W. So see, notice I'm doing two things at one time. I'm dividing it by both both letters that are being multiplied by h. The W's cancel out, the L's cancel out. So the only thing I have left is the volume. I'm going to roll today. The volume is over the length and the width multiplied together. That's how you found the height. So again, if someone gave me the volume of let's say a fish tank, and we know the length and the width, we want to know how deep is it. We could take our length and width, multiply it together, and then divide it into the volume, and we'd find our height. All right, this is the perimeter formula for a rectangle. They're wanting us to find the area formula, the width formula. I'm sorry, my gosh. They're wanting us to find the width. All right, so width is my variable. So we ask ourselves what's being done to W. All right, so W is being multiplied by 2, as you can see here, and it's being added by 2L. Now, we're not talking about that plus sign. We're talking about with a sign in front of it. So that little red plus there, that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to put that little red plus back there so you can see it. So it's being added by 2L. All right, so we always get rid of add and subtract first. So I'm going to subtract 2L to both sides of the equal sign. And when I do, this cancels out. So we got P minus 2L equals, and then bring down our 2W. All right, now what's being done to our variable? It's being multiplied by 2 So the opposite of multiply by 2 is divide everything by 2. And now look at this. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's going to be W. We have another 2 divided by 2. And that's a minus. And this right here is P over 2. So we're going to go ahead and write P over 2 minus. And the only thing left here is the L. So I'm going to say L. So it's P divided by 2, subtract L will give us our width. So if we had the perimeter of a rectangle, we would divide it by 2 and then subtract the length from it to find the width. Now another way you could write this is really like a 1 there, so it's really 1/2, oh my gosh, 1/2 P minus L equals W. Both of these are correct. Alright, so here's example 4. Excuse me. What variable are we looking for? We're looking for R. So my variable's R. So now wait a minute, I have an R square here. So we're going to pretend like it's R. Just do the same thing but with R till we get to the end. Alright, so what's being done to R squared? Well, it's being multiplied by pi. Alright, so if it's being multiplied by pi, what's the opposite of multiply by pi? Divide both sides by pi. So we have area divided by pi equals, these will cancel out, and you have R squared. Now, we want 1R. Now, there's several ways we could do this, but there is a shortcut way which we have not talked about. Square, that's a square, and the opposite of square is square root. Everything has an opposite, like add, the opposite of add is subtract, the opposite of multiply is divide, the opposite of up is down. I mean, so all the math terms have a opposite. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the square root to both sides. So we're going to say square root and square root. Okay, so what the square root means here is what letter times itself will give me R squared. Well, you should say that it's R. Over here we have the square root of A divided by pi, and so this would be my answer. Excuse me. Number 5. Alright, so this is the surface area of a prism. They're wanting us to find H, the height. Alright, and so what we're going to do is what is being done to H? Well, H is being multiplied to P, so we're going to say multiplied by P. And it's also being added by 2b. So I'll put that there so you can see this a little better. Alright, so what do we do first? Well, remember we always get rid of the add and subtract first. So if it's being added by 2b, we're going to subtract 2b to both sides. These will cancel out. And so then we have S minus 2b equals P times H. Alright, so remember H is my variable. So what's being done to H? It's being multiplied by P. So the opposite of multiply by P is divide everything by P. So we're going to divide everything by P. The P's will cancel out. And so now I have S over P minus 2b over P equals H. So the height is the surface area divided by the perimeter, and then subtract the two bases multiplied, the bases multiplied together by 2 and divided by P. You get it. Now, you know, since the denominators are the same, this is the better way to write it right here. We'll say surface area, subtract 2b, divide the whole thing by P, and that will give us our height. So really this would be the better way to write it, but both are correct. Alright, last one. This is the special case that we talked about in one of the other classes. All right, this is one of the rare ones we will not add or subtract first. We will get rid of the bottom, the denominator first. And it's being multiplied by d. So what's the opposite of multiplied by d? I'm sorry, divide. Jeez. A plus b is being divided by d. So what's the opposite of divide by d? It's multiplied by d. So I'm going to multiply both sides by d because this right here this whole thing up here is being divided by d, and the opposite of divide is multiply. Now the d's will cancel out, so I have a plus b equals cd. All right. Oh, I didn't tell you what we're solving for. We're solving for C. Man, I'm sorry about that. We're solving for C. All right, so we're solving for C, and now so we are going to have to get the C by itself. Now, even though we multiply D to the other side, we're going to have to get rid of the man, I messed up. Let's make it, we're solving for D. All right, since we're solving for D, we're going to look at what's being done to D. All right, so right here, D is being multiplied by C. So what's the opposite of multiplied by C? Divide by C. All right, the C's cancel out, and so now you can see that D, I'm just switching them around on you so you can see it, equals A plus B, all that's divided by C. So this right here would be my answer. In my notes, if you happen to compare this to my notes, I solved for C, and the letter outside here was the D. I just mixed those two up. So it's still correct. It's just what I've done is I used the notes and the video look a little different.